Mga kababayan kong Pilipino, nandito kami. This is also a weekly talk with you to inform you of the developments on all fronts. But it would be good if it would include all aspects of governance. But this time, since we are only allotted a meager time, we have to adjust kasi sa P4 we cannot, just get the time that we need because there are other things that they have to attend to also. Though it's government, but ayaw natin just because it's government, susuluhin mo na lang. So there are programs to be aired, and it would explain why keep it at a very low airtime. Tumaas ang COVID cases at meron ang mga expert, may alam sila kung bakit at paano nangyari. Well, tayo naman, hindi na kailangan sabihin, look at our people, because maliit masyado ang Pilipinas. Metro Manila is really heavily laden with human beings. Kaya, for lack of space and because of the nature of our economy, we still have to have the new additional trains, the MRTs, the RSTs. But we are also working on an underground subway. But anyway, so much for that. Sa Congress, there was this complaint by Senator Lacson and Senator Ontiveros. Kasi they were mentioning billions and billions na saan na raw. Sana ang bakuna at binigyan daw na tayong executive department tayo ng bilyon na mga pera. Kung saan nasaan na daw itong bakuna with the billions that have been authorized by Congress para gastusin natin. Kindly explain to Senator Lacson and Senator Ontiveros so that they may be at least educated along this line.
Thank you, Mr. President. Actually, I already wrote a letter of explanation to the entire Senate explaining yung question nila as to our financing last year and the financing for the COVID vaccines. I only have 2 slides. The first slide is, sorry, can they put on the slides? The first slide is what happened last year. Okay. Last year, So there's the chart here. You have the revenues of 2019, 2020, and then yung expected natin sa 2021. In 2019 ho, nakakolect ho tayo ng 3.1 trillion pesos. First, let me explain the difference in million, billion, and trillion. Okay. When you think of 1 million, you should think of one Innova. Okay. When you think of 1 billion, you should think of 1,000 Innovas. When you think of 1 trillion, you should think of 1 million Innovas. So this is trillions. Okay. So we collected last year because of the tax reform that you authorized us to do and the Congress passed. We collected in 2019 3.1 trillion pesos. Bumaba ho yan sa 2.86 trillion in 2020 kasi nag-lockdown tayo, yung business transactions bumaba, therefore yung income ng mga tao bumaba. So ang taxes na na-collect natin was lowered. On the other hand, yung gastos natin between 2019 and 2020 tumaas. 2019, gumastos tayo ng 3.8 trillion pesos. 2020, tumaas yan sa 4.23 trillion pesos. Kasi we gave the social amelioration program. That was about almost 250 billion pesos. And then we bought PPEs. We spent more for hospitals. We spent more for healthcare. So tumaso yan from 3.8 trillion to 4.23 trillion. Therefore, ang deficit natin, ang deficit is income minus expenditure. Ang deficit natin sa 2019 was only 666 billion pesos or 3.4% of GDP. Tumaaso yan to 1.37 trillion. 286 minus 423 is negative 1.37. So that went up to 7.6 trillion, 7.6%. Now, in 2019, we only borrowed 1 trillion pesos. However, sa 2020, we borrowed 2.7 trillion. The first part of the borrowings was to cover the deficit so that we could spend the 4.23. So we borrowed 2.74 trillion. So we borrowed more because, number one, more than the deficit, because we had more projects that we were still funding, like the build, the different bridges we were starting. So we borrowed more. Plus, bumabaho yung interest rate in 2020. So humiram tayo para bayaran yung old debt kasi mas mura na ang interest. So, therefore, at the end of 2019, our debt to GDP was only 39.6%. Now it's 54.5%. And that is caused mainly or solely by the COVID crisis. Sa 2021 ang revenues natin will be more or less flat as compared to 2020. It's only 2.88 trillion. Our expenditures will be higher to 4.66 because we are spending more for healthcare, more for build, and salaries of government. So ang deficit natin is going to go up from 1.37 trillion to 1.78 trillion. So we will borrow this year around 3 trillion pesos. A little more than 2020. That is the plan. This is approved in the budget. Approved na yan sa budget na present natin. So, kung tatanungin tayo ng mga congressman at saka senators, this is really the base explanation of the financing we did last year. If they want a more detailed explanation, we can break down all of these numbers. Is that okay? Yeah.
Oh.
So, the reason is revenues went down because of the lockdown, less income, and our expenditures went up because of the COVID. So, we had to borrow more money.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sani, ang ano lang nila is can we give the people a simpler analogy of sana yung then the quoted an amount, sana yung billion for the vaccines.
Okay, now, the next slide I have, this is explanation of what happened last year. Okay? So, gumawa rin ho tayo ng vaccine budget and financing. And we can put that up on the slides also. Now, these numbers are not trillion. These numbers are billion. Okay? 1,000 Innovas. Okay? Each billion. Okay. So, that the total financing we have for the vaccines, logistics, and other supplies, including waste disposal, is 82.5 billion pesos. Saan po galing yan? DOH budget, 2.5 billion pesos. Bayanihan 2, yung extension, 10 billion pesos. So that subtotal of that is 12 and a half. So we also got financing from abroad. World Bank, 24.3 billion pesos. Asian Development Bank, 19.5 billion pesos. And Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, 14.6 billion. The subtotal is 58.4. Yan ang loans natin. So, 58 po. Tapos, we have another line. We got some savings. Because remember, last year, nag-substitute tayo ng loan. Bumaba yung interest rate natin. Kasi our credit rating is very strong. So when we borrowed, the interest rate was lower. So we were able to save, and we also able to get additional official development assistance of 11.6 billion pesos. So when you add 12.5 general appropriations, 58.4 from the financing, yung from World Bank, Asian Development Bank, and Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, plus the ODA is a total of 82.5 billion pesos. Now, 82.5 billion pesos will buy us enough doses to inoculate 100% of our adult population. Kasi according to the Department of Health, hindi pa pwede i-inoculate yung mga bata. Di ba? 16 or 18 below, hindi pa pwede, di ba? Ang total population natin is around 110 million. Ang below 18 is 40 million. So 70 million lang to vaccinate. So that money, the 82 billion, plus the private sector and another 10 billion from the pesos from the LGUs will be able to vaccinate all the adults in the Philippines this year. This year.
So, sana yung pera na bilyon-bilyon dyan, nasa kamay ba natin yan ngayon?
Hindi po, nasa bangko pa. Kasi we did not withdraw yet. Kasi we will only withdraw when we pay.
Yes.
Because why should we hold the money? Kasi babayad tayo ng interest eh. So, mientras tanto na hindi pa na-deliver, hindi pa due ang payment, we'll keep it in the bank first.
Well, also the reason...
Pero itong 12.5 billion ho, nasa atin na yan.
The reason why I request you to explain this to them. Kaya ang buong akala kasi nila, yung pera na bilyon na ibinigay nila sa Kongreso, nandiyan na sa kamay natin that it's called cash. At nasaan na yung pera? Sinasabi na natin time and again that the money is with the lending bank.
Still. Oo.
So we have not used any single centavo of it because as a matter of fact, about the vaccines that we are going to buy, pero donated ito lahat sa ngayon.
Sa ngayon, donated pa.
What is in our hands are the donated vaccines.
Di donated, I think 500,000 lang eh. 500,000 doses lang eh.
Yeah, and the 400, you're referring to Sinovac,
Yes.
China.
Yeah.
Well, China gave us 500,000 free. Tapos magdagdag sila ng 400,000 more. So that would make it 1 million. Yan, walang bayad yan. So libre yan. Ngayon, itong dadating, day after tomorrow, is it? Dadating na yung binabayaran natin. Ay yung babayaran pala natin. Doon pa dapat sila magtanong kung nasaan na yung pera. And I am not really, ang pagkaakala ko sa commercial law ko, pag maghiram ka ng pera sa bangko, magbayad ka, it is not done by money. Kailangan po 5 truck dyan bago kakutin yung pera na yan. Yan po ay papel lang. And, if you are afraid of corruption, let your mind go easy because these things are not susceptible to anything. The money is in the hands of the bank and they collect yung nagpabili sa atin ng bakuna from the bank. Hindi sa atin na pumunta yan kay Sunny Dominguez na bubuksan niya yung drawer. Sabi niya, ito na yung pangbayad. Hindi ho. Ano lang yan, that's a commercial law namin. May konti akong alam. Puro papel yan. What would be forwarded to them and to their account or to their banks, it's already paperwork. Kaya sana magdandahan magbigay ng mga billion kasi people might really think na sa bagay, sinabi ko na sa iyo mga kababayan ko, kung maniwala kayo sa kanila, sige, bahala na, doon na kayo. Ang kayong maniwala kayo sa amin, sinabi na walang 5 centimos na hinahawakan po namin. It's the bank who will pay upon our advice na na-deliver na yung bakuna. Hindi tayo ang magpunta. Sila, through paperwork, tawag lang, the transaction has been, the buy and sell, tapos na at kukunin mo yung pera sa bangko. Kung hindi pa ho ninyo maintindihan yan, I really do not know how. Wala ho dito, basta bangko-bangko, especially the World Bank. I know that hindi sabihin nila, hindi naman kami nag-ano ng corruption. So, but when you try to ask us to explain where is the vaccines because yung billions na inallow ninyo that you authorize to be spent, inutang pa po yun. Siguro tapos na tayo dito sa COVID. I think unless ikaw na sunod mag-explain niya kasi mabuti ang Tagalog mo next time. Are you okay now?
Okay po, okay po. Kinukumpleto ko lang po yung 14-day quarantine at matatapos na rin naman po yung 14-day quarantine, pero okay po tayo. Wala pong problema. At nagpapatuloy po tayo sa ating press briefings at parang wala lang po nangyari, kaya lang lahat po ay broadcast from isolation. Pero tuloy-tuloy po, ang masasabi ko lang po talaga, tumitindi po ang politika dahil malapit ng eleksyon at ginagamit talaga itong pandemya laban sa administrasyon. So kung meron pa pong konsyensya natitira yung mga nais manalo, na desperadong manalo, sana po tumulong na lang po sila magbigay ng solusyon dito sa problema nito kaysa pinagsasamantalahan po ang pandemya para sa kanilang mga selfish political games.
Well,
pero matindi po talaga.
That's what you would call the classic case of if you want to appear white, you paint the other guy black. Para ang labas mo, puting-puti ka. Si Mr. Clean, parang ganon. Ganon yan eh. Style bulok. At wala naman siguro, except I have reminders for you, sa mga kababayan ko, nasabi naman yung areas where they are nasabi na ninyo yung places, okay na. So alam na ho ninyo kung anong hanggang saan kayo. Then dito, the highest is the NCR. Alam mo kasi nanonood ako ng TV and every time COVID is being discussed, they play a certain footage of yun sa Divisoria. How can you? I was just trying to how can you control the people there? It's just a small place. There are so many thousands there trying to wriggle in and out of yan ang mahirap because of the space na wala kasi tapos dumating itong pandemya, dito tayo nahirapan. So kung sirahan mo naman yan lahat, medyo tagilid na ang ekonomiya. And that's a problem. It will be disaster for our country. Kung sarahan mo talaga lahat, it would be disaster for the country. So balance na lang tayo. Total maliit pa naman ito, small, not really small, but not so many are being affected. Hindi afflicted in the sense that your movement are being curtailed, and the curtailment of your free to travel is always subject to the power of the state to control the movement of its citizens, especially if there is a pandemic. The state has that kind of power. Although hindi yan sa martial law, it's just putting you in the right places at the right time, at this time. So, may listahan lang kasi ako dito na I have promised you that I will be reading the persons who have been dismissed, napaalis sa gobyerno. And it says here, Dennis Lumboy, Attorney 5, National Police Commission sa Napolcom. Grave misconduct for demanding bribe from a claimant to facilitate the processing of an application for death benefits claim pending in his office. Marami to. Hindi lang ito. Si mga sundalo, pahirapan. I don't know of some place, but dito sa amin noon, matagal na. Ang practice kasi, ang mga byuda, pupunta pa dito sa krami. I won't go if it's still being the practice now. But if it is still the practice, I'm ordering you to cut it now. Sabi ko, yung mga byuda ng pulis, pupunta pa dito, they go to Manila, spend money, stay here, not knowing where to be, and not they go to the traffic bedlam just to reach Krami and to follow up this. Alam mo, kayo na yan. There should be an office that should take care of this. Preparado na yan. Pag sinong may notification na namatay, sa trabaho yun ng station commander to inform dito. Marami pang police to kasi Polcom eh. Cut the crap. Sa regional na lang nila i-follow up. Kayo ang magpadala. The PNP has the resources. There are almost a lot of people there walking around. I don't know if they have work to do. But hindi ko na gusto I don't like the idea because it is susceptible to so many things. Kung maganda ang sa Davao noon, ganito yan. Yung biyuda ng pulis na namatay, follow up dito. Eventually, pag uwi niya, buntis siya, kukunti na lang yung dala niya sa This is a disgrace to government, pati sa atin, pati sa ako. Nakakahiya kasi yan. Gawin ninyo, doon na sa region. Marami kayong trabahante. Bakit hindi nyo maraming babae na hindi mo naman pwede padala na sa gera yung mga nurses na nagpulis. Pwede pa trabahuin mo yan. One division. At yun ang nabi. At moment's notice na mayroon namatay, then they begin to process. And eventually, sila na nag-follow up. Bakit pa kailangan yung byuda? The byuda, the identity of the byuda should be there down at the regional level. Kasi kilala sila. So, sabi ko na noon, I don't know if I was still a mayor. I am ordering you now to cut this goddamn it takes about 2 months, 3 months. Mga byuda yan na walang kaalam-alam dito sa Maynila. Hindi nga nila alam magpunta doon dito kung wala yung relative working, ganon. Bakit ba panahon kailangan natin ng polis na mamatay, ilan mo na sundalo. O, bakit ngayon patay na for doing something for the country, they are now forced to go into a rigmarole of lahat na. Simplify mo na. Nakuha ninyo ako. You might revert it to the old practice. Maybe when I am no longer the president. But ako kung presidente ako, sumunod kayo. Ito ang gusto ko. Kayo na ang mag-process. Kayo ang mag-retrieve. Kasi kayo ang may alam. So yung opisina yan, dapat niya alam saan i-retrieve codes. At lahat-lahat na. At i-process nila. Ngayon, kung may kasalanan, di kung patay na, di patawarin. Pero yung sabi mo convicted, wala rin niyang, alam ninyo Na sir, hindi na ito pwede kasi convicted ito ganoon. Ito, maawa kayo sa mga byuda na doon sa pag-uwi niya, buntis na siya. Di, siyempre, di pulis, alam mo yung mga pulis dapat magmalasakit kayo sa kapwa ninyo pulis. Do not do unto others what you do not want to do unto you. Yan ang pagbilin ko. I would like to have that regionalized ang processing. And do not call the heirs o the widow hanggang hindi na Kaya yung araw na yon, pagbigay sa kanya, diretso na. Kunin na niya yung TW or whatever para sa kanyang emoluments and order. Diyan ako galit. Ganito. Abogado mo yung death benefits. Kung babae ito, si Ralph Rigor Ramos, patrolman, Philippine National Police, grave misconduct and conduct unbecoming of a police officer for deceiving police recruits who failed in the PNP medical examination. Ang kanyang promise that they can join the police force in exchange for money. Tarantado to. Ba't ba ito naging pulis? Sana itong pulis na ito? Ito sana, ito dapat ang tinapon dyan sa Dimasiding Ali S. Socor Jr., Police Corporal, PNP, grave misconduct and conduct unbecoming of an officer. Babae siguro ito. Conduct Dito, babae na police. Mary Jean C. Railera. Police Staff Sergeant PNP, grave misconduct. Dismissal from the service. So, sabi ko na wala akong gawin kung hindi habulin yung ganitong klaseng corruption. Sabi ko sa inyo, I will dedicate the remaining years of my life. Not life, maybe life. My years. Kung aabot ako sa finish line, ang trabaho ko, habulin kayo at palisin ko sa trabaho. Sigurado yan. Pagka dumating sa akin, at totoo, magdasal ka na. Prepare, magbalot ka na kasi papatanggal talaga kita. Ipapatanggal kita. I will reverse any ruling there. Kung I have the direct supervision and control over all offices. Patatanggal kita. Dismissal. Pero yung pulis naman na matino, alam ko, dinoble ko yung sweldo ninyo, maligaya ako, pati yung sundalo, maligaya rin ako. Nakikita ko na medyo komportable na kayo ng kunti. Iba nga, nakakabili ng sakyan. Yung mga dalaga, sana wag naman ninyong public. Basta magdating sa akin, i-patrolman ka, bantay ka talaga. Undersecretaries are plenty. Mga undersecretary, marami na yan. Umabot na siguro ng, sabi ko lang 500 meron. Kaya hindi ako sanay magharap ng media tapos pull my own chair there in front of the people. So that's it. It's either you follow the rules or you break the rules. Hanggang doon na lang tayo. There's an pahabol na it's on the complaint of the OFW, yung swab tests. It has come to my attention that the swab test results of OFW is 3 days delayed. Whatever is causing this delay must be addressed immediately. Hindi ko malaman ito kung pauwi ba sa probinsya pati hindi. Naunahan lang rin ako. Kasi noong una, pati yung taga-probinsya, hindi pwede makauwi sa kanila because of this lockdown and everything. No. No amount of lockdown no amount of police power can stop a Filipino citizen from going home. Lalo na pauwi. Saan mo patirahin yung saka yung swab, bisbilisan ninyo. May isa pa tayong problema. This is addressed to Secretary Galvez. Kasi maraming mga sektor o tao na gustong bumili ng bakuna para sa kanila. That's the reason given. But there might be some underlying dynamics there. Na ano ba ang masasabi mo dito?
Sana maintindihan po ng ating mga mamamayan na dahil pandemic po ngayon, na kailangan po talaga na kasama po ang gobyerno sa pag-negosasyon with the private sector at saka LGU po.
And kindly, baka nakalimutan mo yung the assumption of liability. Kasi yung mga kumpanya naghihingi ng indemnity
Yes.
clause kontrata na kung may mangyari, gobyerno pa rin ang magbayad sa indemnity na hindi natin.
Opo, actually po yung ang pumipigil po minsan, hindi po kami ang manufacturer kasi ang manufacturer minsan natatakot po sila na divert po yung kanilang produkto at maging commercialized. Pangalawa po, yung indemnification po. Sa lahat po ng kontrata, nakapirma po tayo ng indemnification clause at saka humihingi po sila ng indemnification just in case magkaroon po ng adverse effect. Yung responsibility po na yon, hindi po natin pwedeng ma-delegate sa private sector or sa LGU. Talaga po yung national government ang pinanghahawakan po ng manufacturer na tayo po ang gusto nila na talagang yung kanilang produkto, considering that it's still under clinical trial, kung may magkaroon ng adverse effect, they will be immune of any liability or suit. So ang gobyerno po, nagot po.
One is that the government cannot guarantee, much less give you an immune status na you are freed of any and all liability. Masyadong mataas na. I think we cannot even do that. Even if we wanted to. Yung assumption ng liability for the stocks that are bought from the private sector. Mas sa kanila hindi pwede. Because in the first place, hindi atin yan. Ngayon kung nagkaletse-letse yan, mishandling, or for whatever reason, it is not effective as advertised, then they will go after against whom? Ang gusto ng mga manufacturers na ang gobyerno, ang private sector magbili, ang gobyerno ang mag-assume ng liability. Hindi ho pwede yung ganon. I do not think that may may malaking butas dyan, actually. Assumption of liability ng ganon. Sovereign liability. Cannot be. Hindi ho pwede. Kaya sabihin mo sila, sorry. Kasi sabi ni Rode, hindi man talaga siya babayad. Because we are not allowed to sign any agreement to that effect. Na nandiyan nakalatag lahat that they are that this being or they are the buyers of such and such. Tapos nandoon yung payment, tapos nandoon yung indemnification na gobyerno magbayad. I do not think that it will be legal. Sabi mo, it's illegal for us to do that. Ang makagawa lang yan is Congress. Wala nang iba. When you assume a liability, you incur something which is not beyond your control. In the first place, sila yan. Sila mag-transport sila. Eh kung masira yan, apektado, mishandling, whatever, there's a host of reasons there. Pag nabasa ng yung abogado, hindi. As a lawyer, I think it's not possible. Hindi ho posible yan. So sabihin nila, sorry. Gusto nila tayo magbili, tapos nila, but then, kung tayo kasi ang bibili, for them, there's a question of, will this particular be also commingled with the others? Because then you will have to follow the World Health Organization criteria. Sundin mo yung kung tayo ang magbayad, tayo ang magbili, tapos gamitin nila yung pera nila, mahirap yan. Diyan ho nagtapos ang ating programa ng Talk to the People. Maraming salamat po.